Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Brandon Williams from Chastity to the podcast. Chastity released their self-titled album back on September 13th on Deathwish, Dine Alone, and Big Scary Monsters. Brandon talks about wanting to represent his small town, tells the story about how he ended up on Dine Alone, coordinating working with 3 different record labels, the art aesthetic over Chastity's discography, and more. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of As the Story Grows. If you are new to the podcast, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate it. You can find links in our show notes to our Discord server, hang out with the podcast community. You can sign up for the mailing list on Substack, or you can support the show financially and get early access to every episode over on Patreon. If you think somebody might enjoy this episode, I would love it if you shared it with them. We had a new comment over on YouTube on chapter 546 with Vicious Rain. Vicious Rain said, "Thank you for having us." Thanks so much for commenting. I loved having Vicious Rain on the podcast. It is an honor to share their music with the audience. Enjoy today's chat with Brandon Williams from Chastity.
You currently in Whitby, Ontario?
I'm in Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh, that's so super early.
Yeah, we're on tour right now, and
fun.
Yeah, so just giving her, and yeah, we love Alberta though, and it's been good.
Nice.
Have you been to Alberta?
I have not. No.
It's all right.
Yeah, I was just in Vancouver.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Yeah. So right next door.
Yeah, it was a good time. So yeah, been to Toronto. I've been to Vancouver. When I was younger, we like road trip through some of Canada, but I don't remember where all we went. So
yeah, right.
But
on.
yeah. So
that's cool. Where are you?
Washington D.C.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's all good.
Yeah. What was growing up? I was looking at the map. Whitby, like, is that where you grew up?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of coastal town.
Yeah,
close enough to be in coastal town.
Yeah, it's on Lake Ontario, and yeah, exactly. So it's kind of along the main, like, dense, like, Greater Toronto area highway. Like we could go to Toronto for shows and stuff, and then Oshawa, this city right next door to us, had some shows, and so it wasn't bad. Like,
yeah,
I think we whenever we play the so-called like shithole towns by reputation, I think people resonate more with the music because we're from a place that some people call shitby. It's like, so I think it just works, like, and we rep it, and that's where we're from, and we're not from Toronto, like, we're from Whitby, so I think a lot of people sort of round up, but no, we're from Whitby.
Yeah. Was there ever that temptation to be like, we're a band from Toronto for, I don't know, more clout or just more recognition of like a location, or was it always just like proud of where you're from?
I think we're just proud of where we're from in a way, and we want to see Whitby do better. Like, Toronto's in fine health overall. It's lost some venues, and but it's got a history of good music, and so it's fine. I think Whitby ought to be repped, and I want the kids in Whitby, to know they should start bands. They should go to shows. You know what I mean? So. That's sort of, I don't know, that's the team I cheer for, and I don't really want to switch,
Yeah, makes sense. What was your kind of gateway into music and kind of this obsession?
I grew up in the church, and I think I was around music all the time, and it was like an older church, and it was like brass band type of stuff.
Okay.
And then I discovered like punk, and I was like, and skateboarding, and I was like, oh, whoa, there's like music, or like good music, or like music that speaks to me, like directly to me. So I think that was it for church music for me. And I was excited to just go that way. And so the start of it for me was like a band from Whitby called Protest the Hero. And maybe even earlier than that were bands like Slick Shoes and MXPX and that type of stuff. So, and then I just found stuff on the internet, like, and retrospective stuff, like bands that had already broken up. I was finding Refused, and I was like, what is this? And it was brand new to me, so, and then there's just a world out there where you get kind of lost in it in a good way. So
yeah, it's the joy of music, is like, even if something's old or been broken up, you can discover it and it can be fresh all over again, and
for sure,
in new ways. Yeah, totally,
exactly.
Yeah. Were you like singing in choir in church, and that's how you like got a start?
Yeah, exactly. I was singing in choir, and I was playing the euphonium and the trumpet, and these brass instruments, and they're fine and all, but yeah, I think I felt inspired to do something different, and I was excited to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Belong to a culture as well that I felt more belonging in,
Yeah. So. Yeah. Did Whitby have a good scene at the time, or were you finding yourself going to Toronto a lot?
Toronto and Oshawa, this place right next door. We had a venue called The Dungeon, and I saw a lot of good stuff there, and it's good times. I'm grateful for that time, because Oshawa struggles now, with music, but I think that's some of the heart for Whitby and Oshawa in the area, is that they struggle to keep venues open and active, and so I want to keep going back there,
Yeah. I know stateside, it's like a struggle for small venues, even in big cities, like, especially, through COVID, like,
totally
just devastated all the small venues, and like, if you're a smaller touring band, it sucks. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's terrible to see whenever a classic venue closes. There's been a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Dungeon ended up closing in Oshawa, the venue I love. And it's since opened back up as something else this past year, actually. But yeah, it's always a heart sinker when a good place goes,
Yeah. At what point did you start trying to form bands?
Maybe grade 7 or 8, like pretty early on. Just trying it out. And if it wasn't me in the band, I wanted to support bands in some way and make music videos or shoot their shows or take their pictures or something. I think I was just like, I was pretty invested in the community and the culture around it right away. So, there were bands at my high school, my grade, that I just wanted to help in any way I could, So that probably started grade 7, 8, and then through high school. I'm like, walking the high wire. I look back and
take. What was the genesis for Chastity?
I was in school. I was like, and I was living in Toronto. I think I was trying out some different stuff musically, and I think I wanted to find the realest and like the purest form of me in music. And I think I wanted to be really like from Whitby, for example. You know, I was living in Toronto, but I struggled identity wise, I think, in the music to be that like Toronto band. So, yeah, I think put out some music in like 2015 or 16, and then put out the first record in 2018, and then I've put a few records out since. So yeah, it's been quick, like, but it's been a long time now, kind of too. So
Yeah.
it's a funny thing, but yeah, it started in Whitby, you know, my friends and I.
Nice. Is there a story behind the name of the project?
I think to me it is just like the purest form me, you know, like, and it's sort of just and I think to me, when people think Nirvana, they don't necessarily think of the Buddhist like ultimate form. They think of Kurt Cobain and his friends, you know. I think I was sort of fascinated by, like, could you imagine if Chastity didn't mean this kind of weird thing? It was this band from Whitby. You know what I mean? I think I was like fascinated by that idea too, inspired by Nirvana and a little bit. So
nice. How'd you get connected with Dine Alone?
Okay, this is like one of the craziest stories I have, and it almost sounds unbelievable, so I hesitate. Like, one of my favorite bands growing up was Alexis on Fire. And we were playing our first album's release show in Toronto in February 2019. And Alexis on Fire's manager / the owner of Dine Alone emailed me to say, hey, Alexis on Fire is officially back, like, from their breakup with a new song and everything, and they're releasing it this day that you're playing your album release show. Can we come crash your release show and close out the show with like a surprise Alexis on Fire performance? And I was like, holy smokes, like, of course. And now we were like at the airport, we were traveling, like touring. I was planning on sleeping at the airport before our early morning flight. I was like, I can't sleep now. Like, this is insane. So then I met Joel, like the owner of Dine Alone, that night. And we just got going on putting records out together. So it was like the craziest possible way to meet him. And, but they've been supportive, and Deathwish has been supportive, and Big Scary Monsters in Europe and the UK now. So I feel grateful to be on labels where I can be myself, you know, and the ideas can be supported. So it's been good.
Yeah. Is it tough having kind of 3 different labels, Canadian, US, and like European markets, and like answering to 3 masters, or is it kind of a good relationship?
Yeah, it's a great relationship. Like, so far so good. Like, they're all cool. Like, my label contact people are all cool and reasonable and level headed, and I think we're all trying to like do the same thing, like, and reach the kids, like, who these songs are written for, you know. So it's not weird with them. And I've been in kind of weird label situations where it feels like a master, you know. It's fine. It's good.
Just a little bit of coordination for release schedules and stuff, I'm sure.
Totally. They were all down and on board with everything, so they're great. Shout out to them. So
that's awesome. Throughout your career, all the album and EP artwork kind of has a very similar vibe, you know, photographs kind of just like very DIY. Is that kind of birthed out of necessity and lack of money, or is there an aesthetic choice behind that?
yeah, I think it's like raw music. So I think the raw kind of covers, like most of them are taken like on point and shoot cameras. I think it just sort of matches it in a way.
Yeah.
So, and I think the project has a sort of DIY nature, for lack of a better term. So it's like doing the covers myself, or somewhat myself, matches that feeling too, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that said, maybe in the beginning, for lack of money as well.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I just think though it was like what I had pictured, no matter the budget, in a control freak way, probably. And it's just what I've continued to picture. Not that there's a huge budget for album art. I've never even had the conversation about budget for album art, I don't think, with any label. I'm just like, here it is. And they're like, looks fine to me.
Yeah.
So.
New album just came out. It's self-titled. Why was self-titling this record the right choice?
That's a good question. I think I just felt like I arrived at that moment in a way, you know, like, and I feel most confident in this project right now. And I had done this like trilogy of albums. The first three they kind of come together.
Yep.
But this one, I think, I just feel confident to have it stand on its own. So it's just time.
Yeah, that's cool. Were there things inspiring you differently lyrically this time when you were writing?
Yeah, I think it's the most sort of real life record. You know, I think the other records were sort of written in character. They were more conceptual, and I think real life kind of seeped into them naturally and inspired them. But this is just kind of head on. This is what I've experienced. This is what I'm singing about. Just the realist, probably.
Yeah. Does that tie in at all to the album artwork and the picture of the house?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's the house that my parents bought back in, you know, the late 80s for $100,000 or whatever. I'm so envious of them. You know, and that's the house that I ended up growing up in. So, it's a personal and sentimental place, you know, and I think it just, again, just on theme. I think the songs take place there first, you know. I'm sort of singing about childhood, so.
I'm not the only hell that my parents raised in this house. Shell shock now, ever since that day, watch out. Kept a knife under my mattress, 'cause the pastor said there's something.
Album's been out about a week or so. You're on tour right now. What's the future of this band and look like? I mean, I was talking to some of the years quickly coming to a close, right?
Seriously. Yeah. We're just giving we're playing shows, and the record came out. We were on tour. We played Montreal that night, and we've got shows now basically until around Halloween.
Okay.
I shot some films like with the other records, and we sort of synced them up to our live set. And I'm hoping to do something like that and film something like that for this album when we get home. So, yeah, just more shows, and then the new year is almost,
Yeah.
we'll blink and like, yeah, just like summer is just gone. I think the year is about to be gone soon enough. So, but we'll be in DC with a band from Japan called Massive the Fermenting Dregs. Sometime in October anyway, playing the Howard Theater. So
cool.
Looking forward to it. So
that's cool. Yeah, I think American football is playing that venue in November, and I was like, "Fuck, I got to try to get there."
yeah,
I've never been to Howard Theater, and there's always lots of cool shows there. But yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, American football would be sick. Speaking of houses on covers, so
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, be a perfect tour for you.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, so down. Obviously,
they're totally listening to this right now.
Yeah, hell yeah. Nice.
Is it tough for you in this environment because you're, I don't know, releasing an album right now, with digital streaming, whatever, like, do you concern yourself with like streaming numbers or how people are listening and consuming the music? Or are you not worried about that? Is it just like, this is my project and happy with what you put out and just hope people find it when they find it?
I think I am happy regardless. And I feel fulfilled in, being able to do this and put this stuff out and have people listen and be supported by labels and agents and whoever. I think if I'm being completely honest, I would be happier if the support from some of these big dog like streaming services was there, and if it was supported like in an obvious way.
Yeah.
I think honestly, people talk about how cruel Spotify payout is.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that's the most cruel thing. I think like the front facing numbers and promoters and agents and the industry is obsessed with like monthly listeners.
Yeah.
So I think for any band to be supported in the algorithm by some human behind the scenes hitting a button and saying, "Yep, let's recommend this band," and I think it would be helpful. I would love for that, honestly, and I think any band who's out there doing it would, and at least any band I know of.
Yeah.
So it's real, but I think regardless, if I'm able to, I'd love to just keep putting records out, and hopefully it catches up with us or something. Or I think we do it kind of the older way of like a left of center guitar music band, is we like just go and play a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And I think in that way it sort of subverts or diverts from, you gotta be streaming like crazy numbers or whatever. It's like, we're trying, like we are trying.
Yeah.
So but I'm happy, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like Chastity has a small but like loyal, cool base.
Yeah.
And it's cool seeing similar people at shows, and then they bring their friends, and it has grown in that way. But yeah, streaming is intimidating, and it's a game, and it's wild. So but I don't mind. We're here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind in a way that like we're gonna keep going, and I hope for better streaming.
Looking out, wanted to thank you. You feeling gloomy, even when you're with me. If I come home this weekend, would you wanna do something?